The stars had stopped singing. Kale Vrash noticed it first from her observation post on Europa Station, where she'd spent the last 18 months cataloging subspace frequencies for the Interstellar Communications Array. The usual hum of cosmic background radiation, the whisper of distant pulsars, the rhythmic pulse of navigational beacons from 100 worlds, all of it had gone silent in a span of 17 seconds. Then came the message. It arrived not through conventional channels, but burned directly into every human receiver, every communications device, every screen from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. The text appeared in perfect clinical universal standard, the language adopted by the Galactic Concordance for official proclamations. Planetary sterilization protocol initiated. Planet Earth's Sector 44730. Species Human Classification Emergent Threat. Authorizer Concordance High Council. Execution timeframe 96 standard hours. Justification violation of expansion prohibitions, unauthorized technological acceleration, cultural incompatibility with galactic peace standards. This decision is final and non-negotiable. Kale's hands trembled as she read the words 3 times. Then a fourth. Around her, the station's small crew of 12 had gone absolutely silent. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, Jupiter's great red eyes seemed to watch them with indifferent curiosity. Final, whispered Chen Yueying, the station's xenolinguist. They said final. Commander Dakarai Okonkwo stood slowly from the central console, his usually steady voice fractured. Get me a connection to Earth. Get me Geneva. Get me anyone. But Earth was already in chaos. 93 million miles away in the underground command center beneath what used to be called NORAD. Director Mara Castellanos stood before a wall of screens showing the same message repeated in every human language, every dialect, every script. The translation was perfect, terrifyingly perfect. Options, she said flatly. General Yuki Tanaka pulled up holographic displays. We have 18 military spacecraft capable of orbital defense. The Concordance has, according to our last intelligence, approximately 4,000 ships in this sector alone. We have kinetic weapons, nuclear capabilities, 3 experimental plasma arrays. They have technology that can disassemble suns, so we have no options. We have one, said Dr. Imani Okereke, head of the Xenocultural Studies Division. She was young for her position, barely 32, with eyes that had seen too much too fast in humanity's brief 15-year history with the Galactic Concordance. We read the message. Castellanos turned. We've all read the message, Doctor. No. Okereke stepped forward, her tablet glowing. We read it the way they wrote it. Universal Standard isn't just a language. It's a mathematical construct. Every word is chosen for precision. Every phrase structured according to probabilistic syntax trees. There are no accidents in concordance communications. None. She swiped her hand and the message appeared again, but this time with annotations cascading alongside it. Look at the structure. This decision is final and non-negotiable, but it's at the end. In Universal Standard, the most important clause in any official document appears first, not last. The Declaration of Intent should lead. The sterilization protocol is buried as a secondary clause after the planet and species identifiers. Tanaka frowned. You're suggesting what? That they made a mistake? The Concordance doesn't make mistakes in official documents. Not in 12,000 years of recorded history. Okereke's fingers danced across her tablet. But humans do something the Concordance doesn't. We read backwards. We reverse engineer. We find the exploit. She pulled up another display, this one showing the message in its original hexadecimal transmission code. The message came through on standard diplomatic frequencies. Yes, but watch what happens when I reverse the bit order. The code shimmered, rearranged itself. Okereke ran it through the translation matrix again. New words appeared. Protocol, sterilization. Planetary, threat emergent. Human species, console high concordance authorized, hours, standard 96 time frame, execution. Standards peace galactic with incompatibility cultural acceleration technological unauthorized prohibitions expansion of violation, justification, non-negotiable and final is decision this. The room went silent. It's the same message, Castellanos said slowly. Just backwards. Exactly backwards. Okereke confirmed. Every word reversed in sequence, which in Universal Standard changes nothing. The information content is identical whether you read it forwards or backwards. It's mathematically symmetrical. But there's a reason to send something this way. In concordance, legal code, there's something called the dual aspect transmission protocol. It's ancient, rarely used, but it's real. When a message can be read correctly in both directions with identical semantic content, it indicates the presence of a higher order meaning. She pulled up historical records, texts in alien scripts humanity was still learning to fully comprehend. The data P was created for situations where the concordance needed to issue an official order that appeared legitimate but contained hidden instructions for those capable of perceiving them. It's been used maybe 12 times in recorded history, always during succession crises, civil conflicts, situations where different factions needed different messages from the same transmission. Castellanos felt something cold settle in her chest. Hidden instructions. For us? Why else construct the message this way? Okereke's excitement was building now, the manic energy of someone who'd found the pattern in the noise. The concordance knows we reverse engineer everything. They've watched us take their technology and somehow make it work differently, better sometimes. They know how we think. So what's the hidden instruction? Tanaka demanded. Okereke smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That's what we need to figure out, and we have 96 hours to do it. The next 18 hours blurred together in a fever of analysis. Teams across Earth, Luna, Mars, and the scattered stations of the outer system all focused on the same problem. If the message contained hidden instructions, where were they? Kale found the first piece. She'd been running frequency analysis on the original transmission, looking for anomalies in the carrier wave. What she found made her hands go numb. There's a secondary encoding, she transmitted to Earth, her voice tight with controlled panic. Beneath the main message, in the subcarrier frequencies, it's using a modulation pattern we've never seen before, but it's definitely artificial. The data packet she sent caused pandemonium in Geneva. When decoded, the subcarrier revealed a single word repeated in 17 different concordance languages. He spawned, not a command, an invitation. Within 30 minutes, Dr. Okereke had assembled a response team. Within 2 hours, they had crafted humanity's reply, a simple acknowledgement in Universal Standard, transmitted on the same frequencies using the same bit reversal protocol. Message received, decoding in progress. Awaiting clarification, the response came back in 11 minutes. This time it wasn't text, it was a data package. Compressed, encrypted, massive. When Okereke's team finally cracked it open, they found themselves staring at something impossible. Architectural schematics, weapon specifications, navigation charts, strategic assessments, and a message, this one in clear Universal Standard with no ambiguity. You were not supposed to survive this long. The High Council voted 847-115-3 in favor of your termination. The 53 who dissented have been monitoring you since first contact. We cannot stop the sterilization fleet, but we can give you the tools to stop it yourselves. This is your final examination. Pass, and you join the concordance as true equals. Fail and your species ends. The fleet arrives in 78 hours. Good luck. Castellanos read the message twice, then looked up at her assembled team, generals, scientists, engineers, diplomats, people who had spent their careers trying to understand an alien civilization that had grudgingly accepted humanity as primitive neighbors, worthy of observation but not respect. They set us up, she said quietly. This whole thing, the extinction order, the backwards message, all of it. It's a test that kills everyone if we fail, Tanaka added grimly. Then we don't fail. Okereke was already pulling up the schematics. Look at this. They've given us complete specifications for their fleet composition. Shield harmonics, weapon frequencies, command and control protocols. They've given us everything we need to win. Win, Commander, Okonkwo's voice crackled through from Europa Station. Director, with respect, we have 18 ships in 96 hours. They're sending a sterilization fleet. Do you understand what that means? This isn't a skirmish force. This is extinction-grade firepower. I know exactly what it means. Castellanos pulled up Earth's defense grid, such as it was. Which is why we're not going to fight them ship to ship. We're going to do what humans do best, which is, we're going to cheat. The next 60 hours transformed human space into the largest weapons laboratory in history. Every shipyard, every manufacturing facility, every research station received copies of the concordance data. Teams that had never worked together suddenly found themselves collaborating across planets, across impossible distances, unified by a single purpose: survival. On Luna, the Tycho manufacturing complex began producing missile warheads based on concordance schematics but modified with human ingenuity, smaller, faster, equipped with hunter-seeker algorithms copied from video game code. On Mars, the Valles Marineris shipyard started retrofitting civilian transports with weapons torn from the data package and improved with human desperation. On Europa Station, Kale and her team built something the concordance had labeled theoretically possible but impractical: a subspace jamming array that could blind an entire fleet. But the most important work happened in Geneva, where Dr. Okereke led a team through the strategic assessments provided by the concordance dissenters. "They've given us their playbook," she explained to Castellanos at the 50-hour mark. "The sterilization doctrine. It's 12,000 years old, refined across hundreds of terminated species. They know exactly how primitive civilizations fight. They know we'll panic, scatter our forces, try to defend everything and therefore defend nothing. So we do the opposite. We do something they've never seen. We concentrate everything, every ship, every weapon, every asset at a single point in space. We make them come to us, and when they do, we hit them with everything we've created in the last 3 days." Tanaka studied the proposed battlefield, a point in space between Earth and Luna, where gravitational effects from both bodies created unpredictable sensor shadows. "And if this doesn't work, then at least humanity dies fighting on our own terms." With 12 hours remaining, the fleet assembled. 18 military spacecraft, names pulled from human mythology and history: Indomitable, Defiance, Thermopylae, Mjolnir. Around them clustered 43 civilian ships that had been hastily armed: freighters, passenger liners, mining vessels, anything that could mount a weapon and survive one engagement. 30,000 humans in 61 ships facing an enemy that had never lost. Keel transferred from Europa Station to the Bridge of the Remembrance, a frigate that had been testing experimental drives when the message arrived. Now it bristled with weapons the concordance had designed but humanity had perfected in 72 sleepless hours. "This is insane," muttered Lieutenant Kofi Mensah beside her. "We're attacking a sterilization fleet with mining ships." "The concordance thinks we're primitive," Kale replied, checking her tactical display. "They think we panic and scatter. We're about to teach them that humans are very good at learning from their mistakes, including mistakes we haven't made yet." The final 6 hours crawled by. Then, at exactly 96 hours after the initial message, space tore open. The concordance fleet emerged from subspace like the wrath of an indifferent god. Not 4,000 ships, that intelligence had been wrong. 8,000, each one larger than anything humanity had built, their hulls inscribed with the glowing script of a civilization that had turned extinction into routine procedure. At their head, a command dreadnought 3 kilometers long, its name broadcasting on all frequencies: Final Arbiter. Director Castellanos, watching from Geneva, felt her heart stop. Dr. Okereke, standing beside her, smiled. "Good," she said softly. "They brought everything. That means they're taking us seriously, or they want to guarantee we don't escape. Same thing, in the end." In space, the human fleet waited. 61 ships against 8,000. The greatest mismatch in military history. Commander Okonkwo, now aboard the Indomitable as overall fleet commander, opened a channel to all human ships. "This is it. The moment the concordance judges us. They think we're children playing with weapons we don't understand. They think we'll break and run. They think we're not ready." He paused, looking at the tactical display where 8,000 hostile contacts blazed like angry stars. "They're wrong. We've had 3 days to study their tactics, their weapons, their doctrine. We've had 15 years to study their arrogance. And we've had 300,000 years to perfect something they never learned." "What's that?" someone asked. "Improvisation. Adaptation. Pure, stubborn, unreasonable human spite." Okonkwo's voice hardened. "All ships execute Protocol Lazarus. Show them what the 53 dissenters saw in us. Show them why we deserve to survive. The human fleet erupted forward, not in a defensive formation, not in a careful, measured response, in a full, screaming, absolutely suicidal charge directly at the Concordance center. And the Concordance, for the first time in 12,000 years, hesitated. That hesitation cost them everything. The first human missiles struck the Concordance formation 37 seconds into the engagement. They were supposed to be intercepted. Concordance point defense systems had been perfected over millennia, designed to swat aside kinetic projectiles and energy weapons with contemptuous ease. But these missiles weren't following predictable trajectories. They jittered and weaved through space using randomized algorithms pulled from chaos theory, their flight paths so erratic that targeting computers couldn't establish firing solutions. 6 missiles penetrated the defensive screen. 4 detonated harmlessly against shields. 2 didn't. Those 2 had been modified based on the Concordance schematics, specifically, the shield harmonic frequencies. Instead of explosive warheads, they carried electromagnetic pulse generators tuned to the exact resonance frequency of Concordance shield emitters. The Eternal Judgment. A heavy cruiser in the 3rd rank watched its shields flicker and die. 3 seconds later, a spread of kinetic penetrators from the mining ship Prospector's Fortune tore through its hull. The cruiser didn't explode. Concordance vessels were too well built for that. It simply stopped, tumbling through space with its spine shattered. First blood to humanity. Aboard the final arbiter, High Executor Thrain Valkathos felt something he hadn't experienced in 4 centuries of service: doubt. Analysis, he demanded, his voice resonating through the command chamber in the low-frequency rumble of his species. The primitives have adapted Concordance weapons technology. His tactical officer reported, her 3 eyes blinking in rapid sequence, a sign of stress among her kind. The missile attack pattern utilized classified shield harmonics. They should not have access to this information, yet they do. Threnvel Kathos studied the tactical display. The human fleet was still charging, still closing distance at suicidal speeds. By every military doctrine in Concordance's history, they should be attempting to maximize range, using their inferior numbers to conduct hit-and-run strikes while evacuating population centers. Instead, they were acting like they believed they could win. Fleet Directive, he announced. Formation Absolute Terminus. Sterilization Doctrine demands no survivors. Execute full weapons release. The Concordance fleet opened fire. The universe turned white. Energy weapons by the thousands lanced across the void. Particle beams, plasma cannons, graviton lances, exotic weapons humans had no names for. The barrage was designed to overwhelm, to erase, to leave nothing but expanding clouds of vapor where ships had been. 40% of the human fleet died in that first salvo. 24 ships simply ceased to exist. The thermopilot vanished in a flash of ionized particles. The Defiance broke apart when a graviton lance punched through its reactor core. 15,000 humans died in 8 seconds. But 41 ships survived, because they weren't where the Concordance targeting system said they should be. Jump complete, Kale gasped aboard the Remembrance, her stomach rebelling against the micro-jump translation. They'd moved 3 kilometers in an instant, not through subspace, which would have been detected, but using experimental drives that the Concordance data had labeled quantum displacement engines, theoretical only, no practical combat application. Humans had made them practical in 6 hours. 41 ships scattered across 3-dimensional space in a formation that looked like chaos, but was actually the most sophisticated combat dance ever performed. Ships flickered in and out of normal space in microsecond bursts, making targeting impossible, closing distance while the Concordance fleet struggled to reacquire targets. Second wave. Launch, Okonkwo commanded. This time, the missiles weren't conventional. They were human Concordance hybrids, fitted with the shield-disrupting EMPs, but also carrying something the aliens had never encountered: swarm intelligence. 300 missiles erupted from the human formation. But they didn't attack as 300 individuals. They attacked as one entity with 300 bodies coordinating through quantum-entangled processors. When point defense destroyed one, the others instantly adapted. When shields blocked a path, they found another. When countermeasures activated, they improvised. 17 Concordance ships lost shields. 12 took critical damage, and the human fleet kept coming. Impossible, Thrain Velkathos whispered. They should not be able to. Sir, his tactical officer's voice climbed toward panic. The primitives are targeting our command and control nodes specifically. They know our fleet architecture. They know our systems. Of course they did. The 53 dissenters had given humanity everything. Emergency protocol, Thrain Velkathos decided. Activate the Scourge weapons. End them. Throughout the Concordance fleet, weapons systems that had been sealed for 3,000 years began powering up. The Scourge devices that could sterilize entire planets in minutes. Weapons so powerful they had nearly been banned by Concordance law. Using them in fleet combat was prohibited. Thrain Velkathos no longer cared about prohibitions. They're charging Scourge weapons, Dr. Okereke announced from Geneva. Watching the sensor feed, energy signatures are off the scale. If those they won't. Castellanos spoke with certainty. She didn't entirely feel. Look at the timing. They need 90 seconds to reach full charge. Our fleet will be in knife fight range in 70, and if they fire anyway, then the 53 dissenters will have failed and humanity goes extinct. But I don't think that's going to happen. On the Indomitable, Okonkwo was thinking exactly the same thing. All ships, he transmitted. Final phase. Execute Omega Protocol. We're going through them, not around them. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The human formation collapsed inward, ships drawing together into a tight wedge formation. Then, as one, they activated their drives at maximum power. The Concordance had never seen anything like it. 41 ships, moving at velocities that should have torn them apart, punched directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. Point-blank range, knife fight distance. Closer than any sane military doctrine allowed, which was exactly the point. At ranges measured in kilometers instead of thousands of kilometers, human weapons became devastating. Kinetic penetrators couldn't miss. Energy weapons burned through shields before they could adapt. The mining lasers from converted civilian ships, designed to cut through asteroids, carved through Concorde's hulls like hot wire through ice. And the Concordance fleet, designed for long-range sterilization bombardment, discovered they couldn't effectively target enemies in their midst without risking friendly fire. The battle became a brawl. The Remembrance screamed past a Concordance destroyer, Keel firing every weapon the ship possessed. Magnetic accelerators launched ferrous slugs at relativistic speeds. Plasma cannons superheat atoms to stellar temperatures. Missile racks emptied in seconds. The destroyer's shields collapsed, then its hull, then its reactor containment. Target destroyed, someone shouted. Moving to next. Above us, Lieutenant Mensa screamed. Kale looked up through the cockpit canopy to see a Concordance battlecruiser descending like the wrath of heaven itself, its weapons ports glowing. She closed her eyes. The battlecruiser exploded. Kale's eyes snapped open to see the Malchuner roaring past, its experimental plasma ray still glowing from the shot that had just saved the Remembrance. All human ships, this is Mardilmir, came the captain's voice. Captain Amara Ose, who'd been a civilian freighter pilot 3 days ago. Stop trying to survive, start trying to win. They can kill us, but we can kill them right back. Make it count. Something shifted in that moment. Some collective realization that spread through the human fleet faster than light. They were going to die. Probably. The odds said so. The numbers said so. Every rational analysis said that 41 ships couldn't defeat 8,000. But humans had never been particularly good at accepting what the numbers said. The brawl intensified. High Executor Thrain Velkathos watched his fleet tear itself apart trying to kill an enemy that refused to die properly. 70 Concordance ships destroyed or disabled, against 21 human vessels eliminated. The mathematics were still in the Concordance's favor, but the trend was wrong. Horribly wrong. Scourge weapons charged, his weapons officer reported. Fire them. I don't care about collateral damage to our own forces. These primitives must not survive. Sir, if we fire Scourge weapons at this range with both fleets intermixed, I gave an order. The Scourge weapons activated. And in Geneva, Dr. Okereke smiled. Now, she said. Aboard the Indomitable, Okonkwo transmitted a single code, HO reverse. Every human ship immediately did something incomprehensible. They shut down their weapons, dropped their shields, cut their engine. For 3 seconds they became sitting ducks. The Scourge weapons fired beams of exotic radiation that could boil atmospheres and crack tectonic plates. They lanced across the battlefield toward the stationary human vessel. 1 second before impact, every human ship activated the devices they'd been building for the last 18 hours. Concordance designed subspace fold generators, modified with human desperation. The Scourge beams hit folded space and did what any directed energy does when encountering a subspace fold. They reflected, not just reflected back toward their point of origin, following the beam paths in reverse with perfect fidelity. The Scourge weapons struck their parent ships. 47 Concordance vessels, including their own weapon platforms, died instantly. Dozens more suffered catastrophic damage as their own Scourge radiation boiled through their hulls. The final arbiter lost shields, armor, and 3 decks of critical systems. Rainvel Kathos felt his ship dying around him. How? He managed. How did primitives? Sir, his science officer's voice trembled. They used our own weapons. The subspace fold generators were in the technical data we transmitted when... She stopped. Realization hit. The 53 Rainvel Kathos whispered. They gave the humans everything. They wanted this to happen. Orders, sir? The High Executor looked at his tactical display. 8,000 ships had become 5,000, and nearly 1,000 of those were damaged. Against 20 human vessels still combat-capable, 20 ships that had just proven they could turn the Concordance's ultimate weapons against them. For the first time in his 4 centuries of service, Rainvel Kathos considered retreat. All vessels, he began. Incoming transmission, his communications officer interrupted. From the human fleet. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. On screen, Commander Okonkwo's face appeared. Human, exhausted, bleeding from a cut above his eye, but very much alive. High Executor Rainvel Kathos, he said in perfect universal standard. You came here to judge whether humanity deserves to survive. I believe we've answered that question. We've studied your tactics. We've adapted your technology. We've beaten your Scourge weapons. And we're still here. You have won nothing, Rainvel Kathos rumbled. We still outnumber you 200 to 1. Yes, Okonkwo agreed. You do, and if you continue this fight you'll probably win. Probably. But look at your casualties. Look at what 20 of our ships did to 8,000 of yours. Now imagine what we'll do when we have time to build a real fleet. Imagine what happens when we take what you've taught us and turn it into weapons you can't predict. Okonkwo leaned forward. You wanted to know if we're compatible with galactic peace standards. Here's your answer. We're absolutely not. We're dangerous, unpredictable, and we refuse to die when you tell us to. We read your extinction order backwards and found the loophole. We took your test and changed the rules. That's what humans do, we cheat. Silence on the bridge of the final arbiter. So here's your choice. Okonkwo continued. You can keep fighting and maybe kill us all. Or you can accept that the 53 dissenters were right, that humanity is exactly what the Concordance needs. Something that challenges you. Something that forces you to adapt. Something that refuses to be just another obedient client species. And if we refuse, then we'll make you regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but humans are patient when we need to be, and we remember every slight, every threat, every species that tried to erase us. You've seen what we did with 3 days of preparation. Imagine what we'll do with 3 years, 3 decades, 3 centuries. Okonkwo's expression hardened. The 53 gave us a gift, a chance to prove ourselves. We've proven we can fight. Now let us prove we can build. Let us show you what humans can add to the Concordance when we're not fighting for survival. Give us that chance, and I promise you'll never regret it. And if we don't, then neither side wins. We both lose. And the galaxy loses what we could have built together. In the command chamber, Rainvel Kathos studied the human commander. Exhausted, wounded, commanding a fleet that should have been annihilated within minutes, but not destroyed. Never destroyed. The High Executor made his decision. Stand down, he ordered his fleet. All vessels, cease fire. Deploy rescue and recovery units for disabled ships, both human and Concordance. His officers stared at him in shock. High Executor. The Council. The council issued a test. The humans passed. The Frame Vel Kathos pulled up the original message, the one that started everything. Look at the transmission again. Read it backwards as the humans did. The staff complied. The message appeared in reverse order, in concordance legal code, Frame Vel Kathos explained. When a statement of finality appears first rather than last, it negates itself. The message was simultaneously an extinction order and its own cancellation, depending on how the recipient chose to interpret it. A perfect test. Those who accepted death would receive it. Those who fought to understand would find the truth. He looked at the human fleet on his tactical display. They didn't just find the truth. They found the trap, the test, and the escape route. Then they used our own technology against us in ways we never imagined. The 53 were correct. Humanity belongs in the concordance, not as subjects, but as equals. The Council will not accept this, his tactical officer warned. The Council will accept the evidence. We will bring the humans to the High Assembly. We will show the recordings of this battle. We will demonstrate what they accomplished with nothing but courage and creativity. Frame Vel Kathos straightened. And if the Council still votes for termination, then I will resign my commission. Because I will not be part of an organization that exterminates species for having exactly the qualities we claim to value. He opened a channel to the human fleet. Commander Okonkwo. This is High Executor Frame Vel Kathos. On behalf of the Concordance Sterilization Fleet, I formally withdraw our hostile actions against humanity. You have passed your examination. The 53 dissenters will be vindicated. Through the view screen, Okonkwo's face showed carefully controlled relief. Thank you, High Executor. Does this mean it means humanity is invited to the High Assembly as candidate members of the Concordance? Full voting rights, full access to Concordance technology and knowledge, full protection under Concordance law. Frame Vel Kathos paused. It also means you will be expected to contribute to the common defense and advancement of all concordant species. Can you accept these terms? Okonkwo looked off-screen, clearly communicating with someone. When he looked back, he was smiling. High Executor, I'm authorized by Earth's government to accept provisional membership with full ratification pending diplomatic review. We have some conditions of our own, but I suspect we can work those out. I suspect we can. 3 weeks later, Director Mira Castellanos stood in the Concordance High Assembly chamber on the planet Kathos Prime watching humanity's formal induction ceremony. The chamber was vast, a hemisphere 2 kilometers across with seating for representatives from 4,000 species. Most of those seats were filled. Word of humanity's battle had spread across the Concordance faster than light. Dr. Imani Okereke stood beside her, looking somewhat overwhelmed. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. We survived, Castellanos corrected. Now comes the hard part, living up to their expectations. And our own. On the chamber floor, Commander Okonkwo and High Executor Frame Vel Kathos stood side by side while the High Council recorded humanity's acceptance into the Concordance. It was, by all accounts, the fastest elevation from candidate species to full membership in Concordance history. But then humans had a way of accelerating everything. One thing still bothers me, Castellanos said quietly. The 53 dissenters. They set this whole thing up, the test, the backwards message. Everything. But why? What did they see in us that made them risk so much? Okereke pulled up a datapad, scrolling through files. I've been researching that. Turns out the Concordance has been stable for 12,000 years. Totally stable. No wars, no conflicts, no significant changes in government or technology. That sounds ideal. It sounds dead. Okereke met her eyes. The 53 aren't dissidents because they hate the Concordance. They're worried it's calcifying, becoming stagnant, turning into an empire that maintains peace through overwhelming force rather than genuine cooperation. They've been searching for a species that could shake things up, and they found us. They found a species that reverse engineers everything, that turns every rule into a suggestion, that refuses to die when ordered to. Okereke smiled. They found exactly what they were looking for. Down on the chamber floor, the ceremony concluded. Humanity was officially part of the Concordance. Castellanos watched as 4,000 species applauded, some in ways humans would recognize, others in completely alien expressions of approval. You know what's funny? She said. We spent 15 years trying to prove we belonged, trying to show we were civilized enough, advanced enough, peaceful enough, and in the end we got accepted. Because we proved we were dangerous. Not dangerous, Okurike corrected. Impossible to predict. Impossible to control. Impossible to break. She looked at Castellanos. They didn't accept us despite our refusal to follow rules. They accepted us because of it. Because sometimes the galaxy needs someone who reads orders backwards and finds the loopholes. The protocol of reversal, Castellanos mused. I like that. Reading the universe backwards until it makes sense.